I'm going to walk you guys through our standard installation process. We have a video here that David had put together like 6 years ago. It was for the Los Angeles market because at the time that was the only market that we were running in. So we're going to review this video. I'm going to break it down as simple as possible for our installation process. I played it in a lower speed so we can kind of really break things down here. This is the infamous David, the CEO of the company, doing his introduction. So as you can see here, he's walking with the roller. This was a process we did before we adopted the Moser. This was fairly simple, but what we're doing now is a lot more advanced. So he's walking the area, he's getting his measurements, his length times width, using that information to formulate the quote. Customer moves forward with everything. Next steps are getting everything installed. So what you're going to see next is the guys doing all of the demo. So the expectation is set that the crews will remove about 3 to 4 inches of the existing soil or sod. Now it does vary by each project. 3 to 4 inches of removal is going to be the standard. You're going to get to some where maybe they have a pretty big slope in their yard and they want to, grade everything out. Obviously, it's going to be more than 3 to 4. You just need to specify that in your ArcSite scope of work, in the pricing. If we're doing extra removal, it's a product you add. You just tap the area. Standard installation, though, let's keep it simple for the video, 3 to 4 inches of removal. Once all of that is removed, our guys will haul everything off in wheelbarrows. See everything getting hauled off there. So what you see here is, number one, they put down a layer of gopher wire. Depending on which territory you are, for instance, in Georgia, we don't really have gophers, but we have moles really bad. So if you see that in their yard or they've mentioned moles, 100% include it, or at least give them an option for it. So they have the gopher wire down, and then they're laying down the weed barrier. The weed mesh prevents any weeds from coming through. Rolling this out. Now they are dropping in all of the road base, just the 3 to 4 inches of a class 2 road base, which is basically crushed rock and sand. So they're moving everything out, getting all of it even. And then from there, they're typically going to be compacting it. They'll water it down, compact it, give it a smooth as possible, even layer. As you see here, they're kind of grading all of that, brushing all of it out, watering it down. They're going to walk through there with the machine compactor, compact all that down. They want it to be smooth, solid surface underneath the turf. Now, of course, there's going to be some areas where there's going to have a natural contour, a natural grade to it. That's totally fine. This project specifically wanted to get it as flat as possible. It's sweating. It's working real hard right there. All right, now they're rolling out the rolls of turf. Every single turf you order is going to come in a roll that's 15 foot wide, very, very heavy. Typically takes a couple guys to move it. They're going to be rolling it out in the yard. You don't need to get into the specifics of laying out the turf in sales, but it does come in a 15-foot roll. We typically order 20% waste. We try to use minimal amount of seams as possible. Doesn't always work out that way, but we try our absolute best. So they're rolling out the turf here. See the 15-foot rolls. All right, as you can see here, they're securing the turf down. Seams are typically sometimes done differently in different markets. Standard is going to be, we have the 2 rolls of turf going out, making sure the blades are pointing in the same direction. You're going to have a seam tape. Typically, the turf is about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch gap there for heat expansion. But we have the seam tape. We put glue on there. We use nails every 2 to 3 inches for the seams. Typically, everywhere else, we're using 6-inch nails. And then if we have an outside perimeter, we're securing it to the bender board or whatever outside perimeter there is to keep things as secure as possible. Brushing in the infill. So this is the final step in the process. Once all of the turf has been laid out, they'll walk through with the infill. Standard installation, no dogs. Say it's just a putting green area, there's no pets. That's going to be a standard default standard silica sand. For any scenario where there is dogs, you're 100% going to want to include the antimicrobial zeolite mix, the deodorizer, as well as it inhibits the growth of bacteria. Again, pretty much a non-negotiable. You're always going to want to include that. The infill is what keeps all of the blades standing up. You see how they're brushing all that in there. Something for you to keep in mind is it's going to be a fairly common question. If any of your customers have been to any commercial like dog parks or say like an outdoor shopping center and there's turf, 99% of the time the turf is flat. It just looks like crappy carpet. Um, if a customer is concerned about that, you can reassure them that, hey, every few years you can always have new infill brushed in. That's not something that's built into your pricing where, hey, we're going to come back in a year and redo the infill. But you can essentially tell them that, hey, if it does flatten out, give us a call. We can give you a price to come do that. There are companies that specialize in that, but we don't need to get into that too in depth right now. Look at that. Turf's done. Dogs are playing. Life is good. Well, look at that. Look at that. It's the American dream right there. That's why we do what we do. All right, sweet. Hopefully that was simple enough. I'm going to get into a little bit more miscellaneous products from here.